Well, good morning, everyone. This is Steve Turner. I'm the Business Development Manager for Voice over IP and Video Conferencing Products at Streakwave. Wanted to let everybody have a big welcome this morning. Thanks for joining us. This is the first of a two-session training class for Yeastar PBX systems. We decided to break it up into 2 days so you're not sitting in front of a computer remote learning all day or half a day. So those of you who are joining us today, in order to sit for the exam, you have to be in today's session and as well as tomorrow. So I believe Angela said she's going to send everybody who's here today a reminder link that they need to sign up for tomorrow at same time, same bat channel for tomorrow. But we wanted to do two sessions so you didn't take up your entire day in one classroom session. I have with me today Jason New. He's with Yeastar, one of the lead trainers or the lead trainer for Yeastar. He's quite good. I think you'll enjoy his presentation and his style of presenting and showing you the ins and outs of the PBX system with Yeastar. We're going to cover this pretty much soup to nuts, from getting one out of the box, programming it all the way front to back. I'm sure Jason has the agenda that you've seen on the topics that will be covered. We'll close down the session at the end of 2 hours today, do tomorrow's, and then Jason and Angela will get you out a link to take the exam, assuming you've attended both sessions. So I don't have anything further. Jason, I'm going to let you get started. Appreciate everybody being here and enjoy your time training on the Yeastar system.
Okay, sure. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, guys. Thank you for your time. And I'm Jason from Yeastar Training Team. And today actually going to be our session one. We're actually going to talk about if you got a brand new Yeastar system, how do we, configure this system? All right. So let's just take a look at on my browser first. Okay. So this is actually the browser. So what I'm trying to tell you guys is our Yeastar S-Series PBX. It's actually based on the web GUI system. So it's quite simple for your quick start. Now, if you got a brand new system, you can simply just take that box out of your package and take an Ethernet cable, connect the LAN port with your computer or with your laptop, whatever you prefer. And by our system default setting, guys, I guess you got a new system, you just flip it. On the bottom side, there's a sticker, and that tiny sticker actually just tells you the default IP address of this system. Which is 192.168.5.150. So you can simply just use your computer, log in with that IP address. But just don't forget to change your computer's IP address, because we're gonna plug in to the system directly. So don't forget to change your computer's IP address, and then you'll be able to log into the system. Okay. Now, probably you guys may have a question right now. You probably want to ask, hey, how about the IP address right now? You're not using the default IP address. Now, because currently I'm staying in my house, I'm actually accessing this S300, which has been deployed in my office. So I just, used the public IP address. I made a port forwarding before. But for you guys, you can exactly do what I said. Just use the local IP address. The default IP address to jump in directly, okay? So talking about the S-Series PBX, there's something interesting. I guess you guys get a slice, which I just sent before. You can take a look on the slides. On that slide, I guess the first few pages actually talk about the details of the hardwares. So you will figure that the S-Series PBX is modular designed. So which means if you got a screwdriver, you open that box, you'll be able to make some customization. The hardware customization. So for example, if you prefer, you want to have some FXO ports, or you want to have some FXS ports on the system, you can just use the screwdriver, open the box, take the module. We have several different types of modules. You can take the module, fix them in the system. That's how you customize the system, okay? But anyway, for our training, session one and session two, we're going to stay focused on the IP part, which is the, IP-based system. We're going to stay focused on this part. So about hardware installation, I'm sorry, guys, this is going to be an online training. So I can't show you how do we fix those modules, but I guess it's quite simple for you because it's all plug and play solution. Okay. Now, anyway, let's just jump into the system. Okay. So like I said, you got a brand new system. The first thing, you're going to change the IP address of your computer, so you will be able to log in to the interface of your PBX, okay? So right now, over here, you're actually gonna need to use the default username and password to log into the system as the super administrator for your configuration. So still the same thing, like I said before, you can get this information on that sticker, which is on the box side of your PBX. So the default username is just admin. The default password is just password. You know, lower cases, no capitalization. Then we can click on login. So here we go. All right, now let's have a check here. Okay, so we're in the system. Now, like I said, the whole system is based on the web GUI, so it's pretty simple, especially for your configuration. I guess we can say this is easy for your setup. This is also easy for your maintenance. Now, once we jump into our system, the first thing we can do here, I guess you can probably click on this icon. This is going to be your currently user information. Now, currently the user information I have is the super administrator. So here is admin. And also we have data processing agreement. Well, forget about that. If you get a brand new system, definitely you will get a pop-up. So you will need to confirm with that agreement. And then over here, you can change the language. Okay, the next one, my settings. This is very important, guys. Totally, okay? If you get a brand new system, I just highly recommend you guys change the password. This is very important for your system security. So over here, you just put your old password, which is password, okay? And you know, set a new password. This is very important. Don't forget to change it, okay? And then we have an email address. This email address actually is a mailbox which you can use it to recover your password. I mean, in the future, if you forget your password, you're going to recover the password. So you're going to recover the password by this mailbox. I mean, basically, you're going to use your PBX, send a recovery mail to this mailbox. Okay, so this is about the first step. Okay, now after that, let's keep going. Now we're in the system, so we can start our configuration. Now the first step, well, we're talking about IP-based systems, so definitely the first step is going to be the network configuration. Before we get started for everything else, for something else, we absolutely need to set the network. So the first step, we can simply click on settings here, and we go for system. Then you guys can see here's the network. Just click on that. Now about the network configuration, now let's just take a look at here. Okay, sorry guys, I guess I get a bad connection, so let me just try it again. All right, here we go. Now, if you got a brand new system, let me show you. If you got a brand new system, you will see something like this. By our system default setting, you will see that the network mode here we have is actually single mode. So that's why I just mentioned at the very beginning, you're going to need a take Ethernet cable, connect the LAN port with your computer, because by our system default setting, only the LAN port is the available interface for your connection. So if you connect it with your WAN port, it doesn't work, because by system default setting, it's invalid. It's just empty. Okay. So this is the default setting. Now, anyway, let's just take a look at this. So if we set the network mode as single mode, which basically means you only have LAN port, which is available. And about your LAN port configuration right now, you have three options. You can choose DHCP, you can set static IP address, or you can choose triple PoE. So it depends on you. If you prefer to use DHCP, that's fine. Well, you will just get a dynamic IP address from your DHCP server in your local area network once you figure out this. Usually we don't choose DHCP here, because we're actually, I mean, especially as a super administrator, mostly we're gonna log into the system for maintenance, for some configuration. So we do prefer to have a static IP address, you know, static local IP address. So mostly we don't use DHCP here. We're gonna select a static IP address, like what I did. So you guys can see I have a static IP address, which is you know, 192.168.6. 192.168.31. This is the current IP address I have on this LAN port. Okay, and simultaneously, just don't forget to set your subnet mask and your gateway, plus your DNS server. Okay, because you're actually gonna connect your PBX in your local area network, which means you're gonna connect it with your router totally. So you're gonna set the DNS server here, so you will be able to get the internet access on your PBX. So this is very important. Don't forget that. And by the way, we also have triple PoE. This is also available, but I guess this is not popular at all because 9 times out of 10, we're gonna get internet access through our router. And you know, we don't need a triple PoE. For business users, they will have a static IP address configured on their router, so they don't have to use this. So mostly, we're gonna set a static IP address for this. Okay, so this is about the single mode. Well, of course, we can also choose dual mode. If you set the dual mode, it depends on your service provider. I mean, depends on the carrier, because mostly we can get our internet service and our SIP trunk service through the same channel, right? So you can use the same cable for both of your internet and your SIP trunk. But sometimes, maybe some service providers, they will give you different channels for different services. Perhaps you will have 2 different cables, one for your internet, another one specifically for your SIP trunk. So for that kind of circumstance, definitely you're gonna need to make sure you have available port to handle you know, different channels, one for internet, another one for your SIP trunk. So if you get a service like that from the service provider, so definitely you're gonna need to enable dual mode here. So we have LAN port and WAN port. They both are working now. You can configure a static IP address for your LAN port like what I did before. Then we can just connect our LAN port with our router for the internet. And about the WAN port, it depends on the service provider. Probably service provider, they will give you a very specific static IP address, I mean public IP address, and they will just ask you to put this IP address on your PBX directly for SIP trunk, something like that. So you can just set a static IP address here, drop that as specific public IP. That will be a solution. Or maybe they will give you a static IP address. They will ask you to configure it on your router. Then you probably need to make port forwarding here. Anyway, this is just flexible for you. So you can just enable dual mode for different channels, like I said before. And by the way, here we also have a default interface. If you prefer to use your LAN port to connect with the network, your WAN port connect with the SIP trunk, I guess you can just keep it this way. Default interface, you can just select LAN port because your LAN port is going to handle the you know, downstream and upstream simultaneously. So WAN port will not going to handle upstream. This is going to only handle downstream. So you will only get the connection from the service provider side. Make sure your SIP channel is available like that. Well, if you want to switch it, that's also fine. You can just change it here. Set the default interface from LAN port to WAN port, whatever you prefer. This is flexible. So this is about the dual mode. And the third option we have here is the bridge mode. If you choose bridge mode, that's quite simple. We're going to build a bridge between LAN port and WAN port, right? So your LAN port is going to handle upstream, your WAN port is going to handle downstream, and they're totally connected with each other. So this is totally flexible. It depends on the IT manager. What do they prefer? If they prefer to use the bridge mode, they can just set it as the bridge mode like this. Okay. So this is about the network mode. And let's keep going. Then the next one we have here is actually the cellular network. Cellular network is not very popular, but this is just one of your, you know, one flexible option for you guys. So what is the cellular network? Well, as we know, mostly we're going to get our internet connection through our Ethernet cable, right? But if there's something wrong happen on your Ethernet cable, I mean, who knows? Maybe I just get something wrong with my Ethernet connection. So I get something wrong with the physical connection. So it actually means my network will drop. I don't know. Well, if something happened like that, I prefer to have a backup solution, like a network backup solution. So the cellular network will be the backup solution for the network. So when you try to use the cellular network, guys, well, there's something very special. Just be careful. When you try to use the cellular network for the network backup, don't forget to take 4G LTE module. Okay, that's a Yeastar module. You actually need to buy that module additionally. You will need to fix this module on your system with antenna plus your 4G LTE SIM card. Then you will be able to use your 4G SIM card, get the data service. I mean, you can use the data service for the network connection. So this is the option for you. But just like I said, be careful. You can only use 4G LTE module plus the 4G LTE SIM card. If we're trying to use some other modules like a GSM or WCDMA, you cannot. Okay. And by the way, if you're going to use this 4G LTE module for the data service, you will also need to fix this 4G LTE module on the first slot of your PBX. Or if you're going to take the S300 or S100, these two models, be careful. You will need to fix this module on the first slot of the first expansion card, which is EX08. Then you will be able to use it. I think this is, it sounds a little bit tricky, guys. I'm sorry about that. So you guys get the slides. So please just take a look on the slides. There's, I guess there's a few pages talking about the module installation, okay? So you can just have a look on those few pages. You will figure out what I'm talking about, the module installation, okay? So this is about the cellular network. All right, now let's keep going. So once we figure out that, I guess you can just click on save directly if you make any changes. For example, I just set the mode to bridge mode. Then here we got a notification on my right hand. We got this pop-up. Save successfully, please reboot to take effect. Well, if you just confirmed, all right, you really want to take effect, don't forget to click on yes. All right. Well, I'm not going to click on that because this is going to take around 2 minutes, so not necessary, but you guys just keep that in your mind. If you really want to make some modification, you want to make sure it will work, so don't forget to confirm with this. All right, so let's just skip this. Okay, so this is the first step. We just figure out the network configuration. Now, once you figure out the network configuration, you just change the IP address. You can, unplug this PBX from your computer. You can just plug it in your router, in your switch, anyway, connect it with your local area network. Your PBX gonna work under your local area network. Okay, so this is step one. Now, step two, get to the date and time. We actually need to make sure the whole system is follow the correct date and time. So we get back to the date and time here. Like I said, we just figure out the network configuration so we can totally choose synchronize with NTP server. So you will be able to sync the date and time automatically. You don't have to set up manually. I guess this is much easier. So all you have to do here is just select your time zone. All right. And plus the daylight saving time. After that, click on save. Don't forget it. Okay, same as usual, you would get this pop up. Okay, so this is the second step. Now the third step, let's keep going. The third step, we're actually going to go for email settings. So what is the email settings? This is actually your SMTP server and POP server configuration. At the very beginning, I just told you guys that in the future, if we forget our password, we can actually, we can send a request on the PBX. We will ask the PBX to send a recovery mail to our mailbox. But how? Well, actually, we need to enable the SMTP server, then we will be able to do that. So over here, this is the place where you can set your SMTP server plus your POP server. Quite simple. For example, you guys can see I'm actually using Gmail. So you can simply drop a Gmail here, have a test, or some other mailbox. This is very flexible. All right, you can just drop anything, whatever you prefer. Here's a list. Make a selection. All right. And then put your mail, I guess this is your mail address or maybe username, whatever, plus your mailbox password. Then our system is going to automatically get the serving information. Well, if it doesn't work, that's fine. You can get back to your mailbox. You go to your mailbox settings. You can find the serving information. Okay, so just copy that serving information, drop it here. So that will also work. Okay. After that, you can probably just click on test, see whether this is working or not. Okay, so this is about the email setting. And by the way, here we also have email templates. So what is the email templates? Now, once you figure out the SMTP server and POP server, here we have a template for voicemail to email. We have a template for fax to email. We do support that feature, so you can have a look here. This is the template for your voicemail to email. So in the future, if you get a voicemail for for your internal users, for extension users, perhaps they don't want to check their voicemail by IP phones. They probably want to check the voicemail by email. Go ahead. This is the template for your voicemail. Okay, so this is the third step, the email settings. Okay, now let's keep going. So once we figure out that, I guess it's time for us to get started for the system setup. Now we have PBX well configured in the local area network. Everything is just well configured. Now we can start to create extensions, right? So we can get started to create our extensions. So to make it clear, I prefer to delete everything I had before. Then we can get started from the very beginning. So let's take a look at this. Okay, all right. Now, by the way, when we try to start, create a new extension, so probably you guys want to know, hey, how about the extension number range? I prefer to have a 3-digit extensions. I don't want to have 4 digits. I want to have 3 digits, 5 digits, something like that. Well, you can actually click on general settings here. You click on general. Then scrolling down a little bit here, we have extension preferences. So over here, the first line, we have user experience, extensions. So here you can change the extension range. Like if you prefer 1000 to 6099, or you prefer something else. Like I prefer to use 3 digits number, like 100 to, to 500. You can just drop it here. So this is very flexible. And by the way, about this, extension range, what we can do here is we can support 1 digit to maximum 7 digits. So that's very flexible for your customization. Okay. All right, now let's keep going. Now, I guess the next step for our preparation is going to be the voice prompts. Well, you know what? Some of our internal users, some of our extension users, maybe they don't understand English, perhaps. So they will probably need some other system prompt. Now we can get to the prompts here, click on system prompt. Then you can click this, download online prompt. So many different language packages are available here. All you have to do is just click on download. That's it. And then you will have multiple languages available in this list. So in the future, we can choose the specific language for this specific guy, for the very particular guy who doesn't understand English. Okay. All right, now let's get back to the extension settings. All right. So when we try to create a new extension, we can just click on that button, click on add button. That's it. All right, here we go. First thing first is going to be the type of your extension. We have 3 options. You can choose SIP, you can select IAX, you can choose FXS, and by the way, you can select them simultaneously. So, which means you will be able to have 1 extension number plus multiple terminals, of course. Mostly we're going to use SIP. IAX is not popular at all, and FXS, it depends on you. If you have a few analog phones, you're gonna connect it with your PBX, plug and play, so you can just enable FXS here. And don't forget to assign a specific port for this FXS, for this analog phone. And by the way, if you're trying to use the FXS, you will also need to fix the FXS module on your PBX. Otherwise, you can never see anything about FXS. It's not going to be available on our system. Okay, so for this example, I'm going to show you just SIP. All right, let's just simplify it. Just SIP. First thing is going to be the extension number. It will be created by the system automatically. You can just keep it this way. And also we have caller ID. Mostly we're going to keep our caller ID as same as our extension number. We don't want to get confused. And then here we have caller ID name. If you prefer, you can make a customization. Like I prefer to put my name here. Next one, emergency outbound caller ID. Well, this feature, I guess I'm going to talk about this feature in tomorrow's session 2, I'm going to talk about emergency number. But anyway, let's just have a look here. You know, on our PBX, we do support emergency number. I guess one thing very important in the States, which is E911, right? So, which means if you're trying to deploy a telephony system for this business user, you definitely need to make sure the system can support E911. So on our system, we do support E911. We do support carrier's lock. And by the way, this emergency outbound caller ID actually means if we're going to enable the emergency number feature, then for this extension, this specific extension in the future, if I'm trying to use this extension, 1001, make a specific, make emergency call, I'm going to use this extension called 911, then I can actually drop a specific outbound caller ID here. So the public security center, they will be able to figure out that caller ID, which has been configured with the E911. So they will be able to locate my office directly, something like that. Okay, so this is just for security, for some emergency situation. All right, then let's keep going. Then we also have registration name. Honestly, guys, I do suggest you change the registration name, because this registration name it's just too simple. All right, it's not so good for security. If you really care about the security, I guess you can change the registration name. Just ensure nobody's gonna mess up with your system. Okay, so you can change the registration name. And by the way, here's the registration password. By our system default setting, we do not suggest you to change the registration password. So by the system default setting, you can only use the complex password. Even you want to change it, you guys think this is a complex password, I want to use a simple one, but you can't. If you really want to change it to a simple password, you actually need to get back to the security center on the PBX. You need to disable the complex password mode, then you will be able to use the simple password. But we don't suggest you to do that. It's risky. Okay, so I guess you can just keep it this way, because mostly for our IP phone registration, we're not going to register phones on our system manually. Mostly we're going to use auto provisioning, which I'm going to talk about later. Okay, the next one, concurrent registrations. This is actually the SIP forking feature. So on our PBX, we do support SIP forking, and maximally we'll be able to support 5. So you could be able to have one extension number, and you will be able to register on 5 different IP-based terminal devices. For example, you can have one IP phone in your office, another IP phone in your branch office, and you can have a Yeastar Linkus soft phone. We have a UC application. We have a soft phone application, which is called Linkus. So you can have that soft phone application on your mobile. You can have that soft phone application on your computer. Anyway, maximally you will have 5 terminal devices. That's it. All right. Okay, so let's keep going. The next one will be user information. Now, what is the user information? User information is just for this particular user. So if I'm the user 1001, in the future, probably I want to jump into the system. I want to access in the PBX to check my voicemail, or maybe I want to customize some settings for my extension only. So how can I do that? I need a user information. By system default setting, when I try to log into the system as a personal user, the username I have is actually my extension number, and the password I have here is just over here. Well, by system default setting, here's the random password. I don't even know what's the password here. So if you want to make a customization, you can just, delete this password. Oops, I'm sorry. You can just delete the password, create a password by yourself. But still, like I said, we do support complex passwords. So you have to create something very complex. Then you will be able to use it as the user password. Okay. Then here's the prompt language, which I just mentioned before. So let's say I don't understand English. So over here, I can just select the prompt language for me. Okay. All right. And here's a mobile number. Here's an email address. So about the mailbox and mobile number is quite functional because later we are going to use some specific features like, for example, like voicemail to email, right? So if I enable voicemail to email, I definitely need to drop my mailbox here. Okay. And also we have mobile numbers. So sometimes we probably need to use some feature like notify this user by SMS. We do support that. So you will need your mobile number. So you can just put your mobile number here. All right. And next one, char integration. Well, I'm gonna skip that because char integration, it's not a solution for telephony. This is a solution for the third-party integration for hotel solutions. So hotel users, they have property management system. Now, if their property management system can be supported by char, then they can use this. So this is actually out of our topic today. I'm not gonna talk about this. Let's just keep going. Then the next one I'm going to talk about here will be the presence. So what is presence? Now this presence is quite interesting. Talking about the presence, I guess we have to talk about the Lankus application. What is Lankus? That's a Yeastar unified communication application, or you can call that a Yeastar soft phone application. It's a free app available on the Google Play App Store, so it's quite user friendly. Extension users, they can just get this application on their mobile. They can also get this application on their computer. We also have the PC version for your Mac, for your PC. So it's quite functional, very user friendly. And this presence we have here is actually something you can change it here to change the presence on your Lankus. For example, I'm the user 1001 right now. I prefer to use Lankus. I don't want to use desktop phone, let's say. So I'm going to get this application on my mobile, and I'm going to use my mobile app to register on my PBX as an extension. Well, that's quite functional. And about the presence, if I change the presence here, like I switch from the available to do not disturb, then once I figure out the registration, this presence will be synced on my application on the mobile. So that's it. This is the presence. Okay. And also we have a presence information. So for collaboration, this is application on your mobile, so it's quite functional for your collaboration. For team collaboration, maybe you prefer to show people about your current, your presence. So you can drop something here just to tell people currently you're available, or you got a business trip, or you're not available, whatever. Okay. The next one, call forwarding, basic feature, do support that, and we can enable always, or we can set different destinations for no answer and when busy. So this is quite functional, quite flexible. All right, that's one, ring strategy. So like I said, it's flexible for extension users, whether they prefer to use IP phone or not. So if you have IP phone, if you have Lankus on your mobile, you have Lankus on your desktop, how about the ring strategy? You can actually change your ring strategy over here. Like what I said, I prefer to use Lankus mobile app, so I can enable Lankus mobile client ring first if there's a new incoming call. And about the desktop phone, I'm not going to use that, so I will just disable this. And about the Lankus desktop client, I prefer to ring it secondly. Okay, so this is about the presence. And some other features for extension settings. Let's take a look. Okay, first thing we have is the voicemail. Very fundamental. You guys can see it has been enabled by default, and this is your voicemail access pane, which is your extension number. Okay. By the way, we can also choose to enable share voicemail status. This is quite flexible, but if you're going to use this feature, you have to confirm with the IP phone, okay? Because this feature, we're gonna use the BLF key on the IP phone. So you guys can put your mouse on that blue bubble, okay? This is kind of like a hint, like a configuration hint. You put your mouse on this blue bubble, we can get this, some information here. So this is just talking about the BLF key. If you want to share voicemail status, you actually need to get back to your IP phone configuration. You're gonna enable the BLF key to check the voicemail status. So which means next time if you get a voicemail, the other extension who has been authorized to check your voicemail status, he or she will get a flashlight on the IP phone, will just blinking, so he can just check your voicemail through the the VoIP key directly. Okay. Then we can also choose send voicemail to email. This is totally supported. If you prefer to send this voicemail to the user email, you can send it directly, but don't forget to drop the mailbox to the specific user. Or you can choose a custom email, which means this is going to be a custom mailbox. Okay. All right. Next one, busy prompt and unavailable prompt. Now about the busy prompt and unavailable prompt, this is also customizable for yourself. So if you never change anything here, we're gonna play the system prompt. But if you prefer, you can record something by yourself, then you can upload it here. So this is very interesting. Okay. And also we can support, I guess this is an old school style. It's an old-fashioned solution, which is mobility extension. Because today this is not popular at all. We have smartphone. Everybody get a smartphone, so I think people can just use Link as application on their mobile if they got a business trip, if they work remotely. But if you don't have a smartphone, or maybe you don't have internet access on your mobile, anyway, you can still use the old-fashioned way, which is the mobility extension. So you can enable this feature. Enable ring simultaneously. So now if somebody's calling you right now, you're not in the office, our system gonna call your mobile as well. Okay. Then we have monitor settings. This extension can be monitored, guys, if you enable this. So next time, if I enable this, my cost will be monitored by somebody else, like a supervisor or managers. It depends on them. But if I prefer to monitor somebody else, I'm not going to enable this. I will just set the specific mode for monitor. Okay. We have extensive, we have listen, we have whisper, and barge in. So if you select listen mode, you're muted. If you choose whisper mode, you can talk to the specific guy whom you're trying to monitor. The third party can never hear your voice. And if you choose barge in, that will be an open conversation for three guys. And if you choose extensive, all these three modes are going to be available for you. So here's the feature code for the monitor. Okay. Other settings we have here is just a ring timeout. By default setting, 30 seconds. It's customizable. And also we have max call duration. Max call duration, this is good for security. If you want to make a customization here, you can just set a specific time duration here, or you can keep it this way. We're going to follow the system default setting, the max call duration. And the last one, set email notification when extension user password is changed. So still, this is good for security, good for the personal security. So if this guy, his user password has been changed, then he will be able to, get notified. After that, just click on save. Oops, I guess I just made something wrong here. Okay. I got something wrong with the numbers. So it can't be continuous number, all right? Okay, then this is about our configuration, and what I'm trying to tell you guys here is just don't forget to click on apply, this orange button. Okay, whatever you've done, whatever you've changed on your system, don't forget to click on the apply button, otherwise it won't work. Okay, so this is about the extension configuration. Now if you want to create multiple extensions by one time, I guess you can use Bellcat here. So the Bellcat is much simplified. This is just a solution for helping you to create multiple extensions directly. But just be careful. If you're going to use the Bellcat extension, you cannot create an extension for FXS, because FXS, that actually requires the physical connection. So you can't use the template for that. you have to define the specific port manually. So the configurations, nothing special. You can just set a start extension, which is the first extension number, and you can choose how many extensions would you like to create, 5 or 6 or 10 or 12, whatever you prefer. And everything we have here, the rest of them, the rest of the configurations left on this interface are totally just the template. Like if you change share voicemail status, this feature is gonna work for every single extension you're gonna create here. Then click on save and apply. So we're gonna have a bunch of extensions simultaneously. Okay. By the way, we can also use the template, the manual template. So you can click on export first. You can click on export first, then you will get a CSV file. Let me show you guys. Okay, now let's take a look at this. So this is the CSV file. You can actually just export it first, and then you can add it by yourself. So we have username, we have extension number, we have registration name, everything, we just have it here. All you have to do is just, fill in the blanks. And after that, get back to your PBX, upload this file. Okay, so this is about the extension. Now, after that, once we figure out the extension configuration here, the next step is actually the phone registration. So about the phone registration, you have 2 options. Option 1, you can register your IP phone on your PBX manually. So it's just a little bit complex. You have to register them one by one, totally manually. But I guess mostly people are going to use the auto provisioning feature, which is much simpler, which is more popular. So we can get back to our PBX main menu, which is over here. The left side corner, you click on that, you can find auto provisioning. The auto provisioning is actually this is auto registration. So if you have a bunch of extensions, you want to figure out the phone registration, you can use the auto provisioning. By the way, on our PBX, we have a very good compatibility by the auto provisioning. So we can support, I guess we can support A-Link, Fanville, Norm, Cisco. Anyway, if you want to know which brand can we support, have a check here. These are all the manufacturers we can support. A-Link, Yeastar. This is actually our gateway. We have a gateway for FXS, which is for the analog phones. We can also use the auto provisioning feature to deploy our gateway. And also we can support something else like a TipTel, HTAC, Fanville, Grandstream, Snorm, Gigset, Polycom, Cisco, Alcatel, VTech. All these phones can be supported by our auto provisioning. This is a quite functional feature, guys. For example, right now I'm going to register my IP phones on my extension number. So how do we do that? I can simply just go to the auto provisioning here, click on scan. But make sure your IP phones are well configured. Physically connected with your local area network. Because as we know, the IP phones, they don't have a static IP address. By default setting, they're all set as the DHCP mode. So you just need to connect them in your local area network. Don't worry about the IP address. Your router is going to handle this. So you simply get back over here, click on scan, and you will be able to figure out all of your available devices here. So when you try to use the auto provisioning feature for phone registration, just be careful, guys. Select the same manufacturer plus the same model, okay? Because they're going to use the template for the phone registration. So if you select different models or different manufacturers, it doesn't work. Okay. So for example, we have T22. We have T22P, another T22P. I will just select them and click on edit. Okay. Then there you go. So over here, we can just select the specific MAC address, actually means different device, and give it a specific extension number. I just assign it with the specific extension number. So let me try to do this again. Then I will select another one with another extension number. That's it. And now simply just click on save. So we will get this notification. Reboot your phone now. You just click on yes. So your IP phone gonna take a reboot right now. After that, congratulations, you just register your IP phones on your PBX successfully. And by the way, when you try to figure out whether this is registered successfully or not, you can actually get back to the main menu here. Click on PBX monitor. Okay, click on PBX monitor here. First thing is going to be extensions. So you have a bunch of extensions here, and whether this is registered or not, you can check the status. The status here tells you everything. If this is if this works or not, you can just figure out here. Okay, so this is about the auto provisioning. Now let's keep going. I guess I'm actually going to talk about Linkus right now, because previously I just mentioned about Linkus, and Linkus is also, one of our extensions. So how do we use Linkus? 2 steps, guys. First step, get the application. That's something users, they need to handle this by themselves. And the second step is actually for us, for the IT managers. So the second step, you can go for main menu here. You can find Linkus. Okay, now let's just have a check on the Linkus. How do we use the Linkus? About the Linkus, this is quite functional solution, guys, especially for the current situation. I mean, under this pandemic issue, people are going to work remotely, so I guess they will need Linkus. That will be a perfect solution for every single user. So how do we use Linkus? How do we configure Linkus for extension users? You guys can see over here, we enable Linkus server. This is step 1, and we have 2 options. Okay, 2 options are available for you. Option 1 is called Linkus Cloud Service. Option 2, I guess option 2 we can call this is a local server configuration. So what's the difference? The difference is the first one, Linkus Cloud Service, it's a value-added service, annual subscription based. And that one, if you choose Linkus Cloud Service, there's nothing you need to do for configuration. Everything will be handled by Yeastar Linkus Cloud Server. Okay, because if you choose the first one, the server for Linkus is based on the cloud, and that cloud is deployed by Yeastar globally. So you can simply just subscribe this service directly, and there you go. Every single user, they will be able to use this. So this is the Linkus Cloud Service, and plus we can use the chat function, which is the instant message feature will be available because everything's based on cloud. All right, and this Linkus Cloud Service is annual subscription based, and right now you guys can see we have a 30-day free trial. So every single user, if they get a brand new system, they will have 30-day free trial. They can just have a test. And the second one, without Linkus Cloud Service. Without Linkus Cloud Service, this solution actually means you're going to configure the server by yourself locally. And by the way, if people, they work remotely, which means they're gonna work out of your office, out of your local area network, then you have to figure out port forwarding. Otherwise, they can't use this, right? So this is about the local server configuration. Now, about the local server configuration, a few things we need to do. First one, the local server configuration is you're gonna get a local IP address here plus the local port. Now, our system default setting, the Linkus application registration port, it's 8111. This is just for the application. I mean, the Linkus client registration. Okay. This is the first support. And talking about the port forwarding, the port forwarding, when you try to use Linkus, as we know, everything is IP based and everything, it's SIP based. We're gonna use SIP. So don't forget to make another port forwarding. Don't forget to map another port, which is SIP UDP 5060. plus SIP RTP 10,000 to 12,000. So generally speaking, you got 3 ports to map on your router. This is a little bit complex. And by the way, you will also need to make NAT configuration. That's also very important, NAT configuration, because if we're going to use Linkus, definitely, no matter this is in your local area network or out of your office, you're going to use data service or you're going to use the Wi-Fi connection. So totally, the network, I mean the IP address, the IP segment will never ever going to be the same. With your PBX. So definitely you need to set the NAT. Otherwise, your PBX will get confused. Where exactly is that IP address? So it's just a little bit complex. You need to make port forwarding. You need to make NAT configuration, and then you can use this Linkus for extension users. So this is about the Linkus. The second option for Linkus configuration. Now, once we figure out the server configuration, the next step, we can just click on Linkus client settings here. Enable Linkus client for your user. Okay, and don't forget to set the mailbox for every single user, because right now we're going to send the activation mail. The activation mail for users is actually looks like this. We're going to send them the Linkus login QR code plus the Linkus login link. So if they have the Linkus on their mobile, they can use the QR code to scan it. If they have the Linkus on their computer, they can use this login link to enable their Linkus PC client. Okay. All right, guys, I guess that was the part 1. Let's just take a short break. And if you guys have any questions, let me know through the chat panel. Guys, any questions?
I don't see any questions, Jason.
Okay. All right, so I guess we can probably keep going. Okay, so now let's just keep going. All right.
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay, sure. So the part 1, we actually just figure out the basic configuration for your PBX, deployment plus your extension settings, which means currently we will be able to grab our phones, make calls with each other. So we basically just figure out the internal communication system. All right. Now this is a PBX, right? So we definitely also need to figure out how to communicate with our external contacts, our customers. So the next part 2, I'm actually going to talk about the trunk configuration and inbound and outbound configuration. Okay, so let's keep going. All right, so first thing I'm going to talk about here will be the trunk configuration. On our PBX, Yeastar PBX, our system is more like a hybrid solution, more like a comprehensive solution. If you prefer, this platform, this box can work as a pure IP system, but also, like I said, if you prefer, you can make it as a hybrid system. So all you have to do is just open your box by the screwdriver, take the modules, plug and play, make a customization. Then you'll be able to have several ports for different channels like this. So we can simply click on trunks here. You guys can see I have different modules inserted on this S3 hanger. So I have a few different ports available for different channels. I have FXO port, I have BRI, I have the GSM, CDMA. I also have the port for E1 for the ISDN channel. So this is about the S-Series PBX trunk configuration. Now about those physical trunks, those latent lines, there's nothing we need to do for configuration because that's just the service. That's just the existing service provided by the service provider, by the carrier. So if you want to have an E1, well, just go for the for the service provider. If you need a latent line, you go for AT&T. You just purchase the latent line from them, and they will just give you the cable. You can just all you have to do just make sure your PBX has available port for the plug and play communication. That's it. The only thing I guess I can talk about here will be the added. So what is the added? If there's something wrong happen on this channel or maybe on your parameter configuration, you can click on added here. Like if you want to change the volume for this channel, you can change it here. Or you can go to the advanced settings. I mean, perhaps you want to change the signaling or some rules. Maybe service provider, they just change it. Or maybe service provider, they require a specific rule. So you can just change it here. That's it. I guess this is the only thing we can talk about for the physical lines, physical phone lines. So not a big deal, like I said. Mostly we can just use the plug and play solution for analog channels, for ISDN channels directly. Well, one thing very special here is about the SIP trunk. SIP channel is very special because it's not like a plug and play solution. You buy the SIP service from the service provider, that's it. And service provider, they just give you the service. And as for the rest, they don't care. You have to figure out the rest of the configuration by yourself. So how do we do that? We can simply click on add, and here we go. This is just the interface for the trunk configuration. All right. So step one, name your SIP trunk. All right. You can probably call this as a SIP 1, 2, 3, whatever you want, just give a name, all right? And here we have select country. What is select country? This actually makes the template. We do support, we support lots of templates throughout the world. So for example, in the States, I'm gonna select United States here. Then the ISP, we have templates. We got a cooperation with those ISPs, so we have their templates. So what you're gonna do right now is just find whether your provider is in the list. If your provider is in the list, you can just select it here, and you guys can see the host name. The provider's information has been generated automatically. All you have to do is just put your username and the password, which is provided by the provider. And probably they will also ask you to enter the caller ID, from user authentication name. It depends on the service provider. If they ask you to do something, they will give you something like that. If they don't, then they will just give you username and password. So this is about the template. You can use the template for the trunk configuration. Or maybe some of you guys will ask, hey, how about this? If my provider is not in the list, how can I create a SIP trunk? Well, you can choose general here. So you can create a SIP trunk totally by yourself manually. About the manual configuration here, we're actually going to need to talk about the trunk type. So have a check here. The trunk type we have here, we got 3 options. We have registered trunk, we have peer trunk, and we have account trunk. Mostly we're going to use registered trunk and peer trunk. And about the account trunk, this is just for internal communication. For interconnection, not for the connection with the service provider. So mostly we use the first 2 types. The most popular one is actually registered trunk. So as you can see, if I use registered trunk, I will need to enter the service provider's host name or IP address, plus the username and the password to activate this SIP trunk. Okay. And sometimes maybe service provider, they don't give us username and password. They only give us the IP address. Then we can choose peer trunk. For this circumstance, actually, this is very special. This circumstance only happened when the service provider gives you SIP trunk with a specific channel, which I just mentioned in the very beginning of today's session. You guys do remember? Sometimes service provider, they will give you the SIP service with a particular channel. It's separated with your internet service. So for that kind of circumstance, they will actually give you a specific static IP address for the authorization. That's why you don't have username and password, because you don't need it. You'll just need that specific IP, public IP for the authorization, because they just gave you that specific IP. So for that kind of circumstance, you can just choose pure chunk here and drop that specific IP address. Maybe it's an IP address, or maybe it's a domain. It depends on them. Okay, and then click on save. So this is about the trunk configuration. Pretty simple. Okay, now let's keep going. So once we figure out the trunk configuration here, it basically means we get a bunch of available channels for telecommunication with the outside contacts. So the next step, we're actually going to go for call control settings to set the inbound route and outbound routes. So I prefer to delete everything I had before, same as usual, so we can have a fresh start. Okay, let's take a look at this. Okay, now I'm gonna create inbound routes first. So we're gonna handle incoming calls first. And about the inbound route, there's something very important, which is time conditions. I mean, just think about it. You can never apply a credit card on weekends, because if you make a call to bank service on weekends, there's no one gonna take care of this. You're gonna go for the voicemail directly. But if you make a call on weekdays, you will be able to reach a specific agent because of the time conditions, right? So which means for those guys, for bank service, for insurance service, anyway, they also have a telephony system, and they have time conditions to handle different calls to different destination by different duration. So what we're going to do here, the first step is going to be the time condition. Let's have a check here. I prefer to use Yeastar as an example. Our business hour is actually we start working from morning 9 o'clock to 6 p.m. Okay, and days of week will be Monday to Friday. And as for the advanced options, not necessary, because I'm going to create a general rule for every single day. So I'm not going to use advanced options here. This is the first time condition. And the second one, we also have a lunch break. So I'm going to create another one for lunch break. Time will be 12 a.m. to 1 p.m. This is our lunch break. And days of week will be Monday to Friday, same as usual. And next one will be weekends. So let's keep going. Just wait a second. Oops. I guess I will do that again. Okay. All right. Now the next one I'm going to create here will be weekends. So let's have a check here. Our weekends time will be 0 to, I guess, 23:59. We're going to cover the whole day for weekends. And days of week will be Sunday and Saturday. Okay, save it and apply. So 3 time conditions. Now it's available for me, and we're going to get back to the inbound routes. Let's see, how do we create a new one here? Simply click on add. And first thing, don't forget to name your inbound route, because perhaps in the future you're going to create a bunch of inbound routes. So you're going to name this. Let's say this is an inbound route first, the first one. So I'm going to call this as an inbound 101. Okay. About the DID pattern and caller ID pattern, let's just forget about them, all right? Because right now, I'm gonna create a very general inbound route, and which means I don't have a DID number. I just have a simple SIP trunk with a few landlines. I don't have a DID numbers. I just have the general, the phone number. I never purchased DID number from the service provider, so I don't have to do that. Let's just simplify this. Now, I'm gonna select member chunks. So I have a bunch of chunks. I will just, let's see, this inbound route is just for handle some cost from E1 channel and SIP trunk. Okay, so I'm gonna select these 2 chunks here. And definitely I can select destination directly, but like I said, I prefer to handle different costs to different destination during different time duration. So I can just enable time condition, click on add multiple time conditions. So the first one will be business hour, all right? And the destination, I guess we prefer to use IVR. This is the most popular way for us to do it. So I prefer to use IVR. And by the way, guys, about the IVR configuration, I think we're going to talk about this in the session 2. Okay, so tomorrow we're going to talk about the IVR configuration. All right. So this is the first time condition. And the second time condition, I guess, will be the lunch break. So I guess we probably going to handle costs during lunch break to a specific extension, like this. And for weekends, I'm going to handle incoming calls to voicemail. All right, voicemail, Jason, okay? So like this. So it seems that everything is well configured. We can just click on save, and we can just use this inbound route to handle different incoming calls, right? Well, actually, we cannot. You know why? Because on our right hand here, we have priority. So which means your time conditions have priority. So you can change the priority. You can choose the order. Which one would you like to put it on the first one? So the problem we have here is, the business hour and lunch break, they gotta overlap with each other, right? Totally, they gotta overlap with each other. So this is totally wrong. This is something not correct. So if we really want to make our inbound route work correctly, we actually need to switch the lunch break on the top. Okay, because they gotta overlap, and lunch break should stay on the top of the priority. This one should be configured with the first priority for the time condition. And as for the weekends, it doesn't matter. I can put weekends here. I can put weekends on the top because there is nothing to do with weekends. They don't have anything in common. It's totally 2 different durations, right? So I can just put wherever I prefer for the weekends. So then we can use this time conditions for helping us to handle different costs to different destinations. All right, and by the way, here we also have a feature code. So what is the feature code? The feature code actually means the authorized user will be able to use the feature code to change the time condition by force. For example, let's say right now, this is the lunch break time. This is just the time for lunch. But today, something special, maybe I don't want to handle my incoming call to the lunch break destination, which is voicemail. I prefer to use the business hour destination to handle incoming calls during the lunch break today. So, but I don't want to change it permanently. I just want to change it temporarily. So the authorized user will be able to use the feature code to change the time condition directly. Now, here's another question. Who will be the authorized user to do that? Well, take it easy. Get back to the general setting, okay? Then here's the feature code. You can simply click on feature code and scrolling down, here's the time condition. So when we try to change the time condition, we're actually going to use *8. And who's going to be the authorized person to use that? Set the extension permissions. Over here, this is the place where you can change the user privilege to change time condition. All right, like this. So if I click on save, it actually makes the extension 1001 will be able to change the time condition by feature code. Okay, now let's get back here. All right. And when we try to reset the feature code, I'm sorry, when we try to reset the time condition, here's the reset feature code, which is *800. Okay. Well, next one. Next one is distinctive ringtone. Distinctive ringtone, this feature actually it's a phone feature. When you try to use the distinctive ringtone, you actually need to get the ringtone on your IP phone. You know, on your IP phone, you have a bunch of ringtones. You can just, get the name of that specific ringtone. Then back over here, you can drop the specific ringtone name. So it actually means next time, if anybody make a call, go through these two chunks to your destination, you will get a specific ringtone which you've set here. Okay. Then last one, enable fax detection. Our system can also support fax detection. I mean, if you have analog channel, you have landline, you don't have to use this feature because your analog channel can handle fax directly. All you need is just a fax machine. But if you have a SIP trunk, you wanna detect the fax through your SIP trunk, you can enable this. Well, simultaneously, you will need to get back to the trunk configuration. Go find your SIP trunk like this one. Okay, we're gonna click on advanced setting. Okay, you can find here's the T.38. Just enable this. This is actually the protocol for fax detection. So don't forget to enable T.38. After that, get back to your call control setting, the inbound route here. We can just enable fax detection. So next time, if you got to fax it through the SIP trunk, you will be able to get this fax. By the way, about the fax feature, if you have fax machine, you just connect your fax machine with your PBX so you can get the fax. And if you don't have fax machine, guys, you can actually choose fax to email. This is also supported. So you can choose fax to email and just select one extension user who has been assigned with the mailbox. So like Jason knew, so next time, if we get a fax, I will be able to get a fax through my mailbox. And by the way, this email is actually a PDF. I mean, that fax is a PDF. Then we click on save and apply. This is about the inbound route configuration. So still, if you want to create multiple inbound routes, you can use the template. So click on import. Here's the button for you to download the template. Okay. All right, now let's keep going. Then the next one I'm going to talk about here will be the outbound routes. Let's have a look here. The outbound routes configurations, I guess, is a little bit easier because we don't need a time condition. Mostly, we don't need time condition. So let's have a check here. Still, same thing gonna be the first thing is gonna be the same thing, outbound 101, just name it. And then select your available channels for outgoing costs. Like you probably want to use multiple channels for outgoing costs, so you can select them here. So I get 4 channels selected. 4 trunks will be available for my internal users to make outgoing costs. And then I will need to select member extensions. So I can select them all, or maybe I don't want all of my internal users use this 4 chunks for outgoing costs. I can probably make a selection. Okay, for users. And to manage them, I'm actually want to manage them. I want to make sure nobody's going to mess up with my system. So I can set a password here. It could be a single pane. Oops, I'm sorry. It could be a single pane here, or it could also be a pane list. So you can set a password list. And about the password list, this is very interesting. I get 4 agents, so I can create a password list with 4 different passwords. And I'm going to give 4 different passwords to 4 different agents. And then I can just enable recording CDR. So next time, whoever made that specific call, it will be recorded in the CDR with the specific password. So I'll be able to figure out who just made that call. Okay. All right. The next one, max call duration. Still, this is gonna be the configuration for your system security. So if you never change it, we're gonna follow the system default setting. If you want to change this, you can just customize it here. And the next one, route robbing with memory hunt. You can enable this or disable it. Now, if you enable the route robbing with memory hunt, let's have a check here. We have 4 available channels, so probably we have a question here is exactly which channel are we going to use it for outgoing costs? 4 available channels, so which one? Well, this list actually is customizable for your priority, so you can change the priority. So if you set a priority like this, definitely our system gonna follow this priority. So every single time we're gonna use the first available channel, which is the CDMA, for the outgoing call. Well, that sounds not so fair. We prefer to have automatic shifting between them, so we can enable the route robbing with memory hunt. So it actually means if you're trying to make an outgoing call right now, the first call goes out through this trunk, then our system would just keep that in his mind. Our system would just remember that. So when you try to make another outgoing call, it will be switched to the next one. This is route robbing with memory hunt. So it's quite functional, I guess. Okay. The last one would be time condition. Like I said, mostly we're not going to use time condition for outgoing costs because it's not so necessary for us to control our internal users for outgoing costs. But if you want to control it, you can just enable time condition for your outgoing costs as well. Okay, now let's get back to the DEL patterns. This is very important for your outbound route. So what is the DEL pattern? The DEL pattern actually is quite functional. It's very important for you to manage your internal users to make outgoing calls. Let's say mostly we're going to dial extension numbers directly, but that will be something. I mean, mostly that's for internal calls. Like I have internal users, I have internal conference, I have internal different destinations, so I can just dial numbers directly. So to make our system be more intelligent, mostly we prefer to use a specific rule to define our system how to make outgoing calls. So we're going to use the DEL pattern. For example, we can use number 9 as the identification number to tell our system if I'm gonna dial a number which is started with number 9, please send this number to the outside through my chunks. This is not for internal costs. So we can actually realize that by this DEL pattern. Let's take a look. In the DEL pattern settings, the first thing we have here, I mean by our system default setting, it's just a letter X with the point. So what does it mean? You can put your mouse on this blue bubble. Here's the definition. So you can have a check here. The letter X actually means it matches any digit from 0 to 9. So if I drop X here, it actually means this number could be anything. 0, 1, 9, 8, whatever you want. And I put a point here. The point actually means there must be something left. As you guys can see here, there must be 2 digits or 3 digits. I mean, at least the 2 digits. So it actually means if I drop a point here, so when you try to make an outgoing call, the valid number must be more than 2 digits, like that. So this is a very general rule. It works for every number, guys. It works for every number. So if you want to make a customization, like I said, for example, the example I mentioned before, you can simply just drop number 9 here. You drop number 9 here, it actually means next time when you try to make outgoing calls through these 4 chunks, you have to use number 9 as the identification number. But the point is, this number 9 is not the actual number. This is more like an identification number. So it should be deleted automatically before we send the number to the service provider. So how can we do that? We can get to the, here, strip. You just put 1. Just put 1 here. It actually means the first digit will be deleted automatically before our system sends this number to the service provider. So it's quite easy, quite simple, right? And the next one. Prepend. what is prepend? The prepend we have on our system is more like a prefix. So here's the deal. Here's the deal. Here's the example. Here's an example about how to use prepend. Let's say I'm going to create an inbound route for domestic calls. I don't want anyone make international calls. But how can I limit them? It's very hard for me to limit them. If they want to make international calls, they can just use their country code. For example, like if they want to call a person in the States, they can just dial 001 plus the person's number. Well, there you go. You just make that international call. So how can I limit them? Well, I can actually put the country code here. I mean, my country code here, which is 0086. That's China's country code. So if I put my country code here, this actually makes every single time when my internal users, when they try to make outgoing calls, no matter what they've dialed, their number will be automatically added with this country code. It's going to work as the prefix. So you can never ever make a call to the United States, to anywhere else, except for the domestic market. That's it. So this is about the prepend. All right. So generally speaking, the outbound route configuration is quite simple, but I guess the most important thing here is the dial pattern. So if you really want to define your system, you really want to manage everything, make sure your internal user is gonna under your control, set the dial pattern here. All right, then we click on save and apply. So this is about the outbound risk. I'm sorry, the outbound rules, the outbound routes. Okay. All right, next one. Next one will be the outbound restriction. So talking about the inbound and outbound, to communicate with our external contacts, we also need to make sure our system is totally secured. So there's a way for us to secure the system, which is the outbound restriction. You can go to the outbound restriction here. You can add some new rule to define your system, to limit your system actually. So first thing, you can name this outbound restriction, and then you can set your rule like a time limit is 1 minute, and that number of calls limited will be 5 calls. So if you set a rule like this, and it works for all extensions, so every single internal user, every single user is on your PBX, when they try to make outgoing calls, they're gonna follow this rule. Well, of course, you can also select specific extensions for this route. So this is very flexible for the security of the communication to the outside. Okay. All right, guys. Now, I guess that was all we have for today's session. And any questions? Guys, any questions?
Hey, Jason, there is no questions up until now.
Okay, sure. All right, guys. So I guess, like I said, that was all we have for the session 1. So today we just figured out the basic configuration and extension creation, plus the how do we use the trunk, how do we use the inbound and outbound. And for tomorrow's session, the session 2, we're going to talk about the call features on our PBX. For example, like IVR, like call queue, like conference. And of course, we will also talk about something about the basic maintenance on our PBX. So that will be our topics for the session 2. Okay, so guess that was all we have for today's session. Once again, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Jason, and thank you, attendees. Once again, just a quick reminder, I did put down the link on the chat box to make sure you do register for tomorrow's session. I will make sure an email gets sent out as well. See you guys all tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you.